Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Monday's Market Outlook here at Top Gun Options. My name is Matthew Buckley. My call sign is Wiz, and you're going to find out more about me and the background of Top Gun Options going on our 10th year in business. 10th year in business, and that's going to be next October 14th. That's next Monday night at 9 o'clock. We're going to kick off a free week of live training and trading here at Top Gun Options. All you need to do is head to go.topgunoptions.com/FT. That stands for Full Throttle. I'm going to teach you how to take your portfolio full throttle. Go.topgunoptions.com/FT. And for the first time in 10 years, we're going to limit the amount of people in the room. Usually we have, one year we had like 12,000 people registered for these. We have 588 right now, and we're not even a week away. We're going to hit 1,000. When we hit 1,000, we're done. Not going to take any more people because during these free briefs, I like to focus on the quality of the folks there, not the quantity. Okay, and actually, there are folks that just come to these throughout the year to get free trade ideas. We're starting to wean all that stuff, folks. If you're motivated, you want to learn here about Top Gun Options. Some other places, if they open up just one brief, they actually charge you for it. I'm opening up like 3 or 4 of our briefs, and you're going to see why we've been here for 10 years and why this last quarter was my best quarter ever in 27 years trading. Look at this. August was an absolute blast, and October is going to be the exact same thing. Look at this. You can just cut and paste August into October, and it's going to get ugly. What do we got going on this week? Oh, man, we have a lot. We got some central bank stuff, but more importantly, Thursday, Friday, we got China trade talks, and they ain't looking so hot. So we'll get to that in a second, but you have to register now before we close the doors. We're not even, we're exactly almost a week away. We're going to be kicking off October 14th at 9 p.m. Eastern, a welcome aboard brief. All you need to do is head to go.topgunoptions.com/FT. Real quick, horror in France, right? The sub headline of this is, government shocked that a radical Islamic dude they let into their government 4 years later pulls out a sword and kills 4 cops. I mean, France has been rocked by a security breach that allowed an Islamist extremist to work in the heart of its counterterrorism apparatus for years. Okay, well, in America, right, with Major Nadine Hassel pulling out a gun in Fort Hood and gunning down fellow soldiers, killing them, wounding them. Barack Hussein Obama called that workplace violence, right? That's not terrorism. A radical Islamic guy wearing an army uniform gunning down his fellow soldiers, that's workplace violence. It's disgusting. Wake up, people. Radical Islam does not get along with the world or play nicely with the world. Take that that stupid coexist bumper sticker off your car. You can't coexist when one of those symbols wants to eat and kill all the other ones. Wake up, folks. The impeachment stuff is kind of humming along. There's allegedly a second whistleblower, a third, whatever. I've seen this movie before, Brett Kavanaugh. Just because there's more accusers doesn't mean they're better, and actually could, in fact, make it worse. I mean, hell, I heard the second whistleblower is John Bolton, so this is going to get ugly. The president in an apparent call with Xi in June brought up, hey, maybe you guys should investigate Biden. I don't have a problem with that. He's the chief law enforcement. He should be looking into alleged corruption and wrongdoing on our side. Here's the problem. Allegedly, again, I haven't seen it, but allegedly, according to reports, he said he'd kind of keep his mouth shut on Hong Kong. That is impeachable, in my opinion, not the asking for their help. Absolute disgrace if he said, you know what, I'll keep my lips closed about Hong Kong a little bit if you guys look into Biden. Are you shitting me, Mr. President? If they're allowed to steamroll into Hong Kong, they're going to Taiwan next, and that'll get a lot of American killed unless you just want to not live up to our treaties, right? So you either defend Taiwan because we have a Defense of Taiwan agreement, or you let the Chinese take over Taiwan. So what is it, Mr. President? That's what you're going to be forced to choose between: a trade deal and standing up to China. I hate to be cynical. I meditated today. I got my workout in already. My mind's trying to be clear, but I can't help but think that Trump would win a deal, especially with all the impeachment stuff and needing a victory on the board before the election, because he don't want this going on. He can try and blame the Democrats. He can try and blame China, but the head dude in charge is usually one that gets tarred with a market that looks like that. So pretty bad weekend in Hong Kong, right? A lot of violence. We saw the guy get shot last week. They've outlawed masks. Nobody's taken their masks off. So this will get worse. Clearly, it's going to get worse. It's not like these emergency powers. They weren't put into effect because they knew that people were going to listen to them. They actually put them into effect because they knew they weren't. And they can sit here and point to the TV and go, hey, man, look at these people. We just have to crack down. It's actually impacting commerce a lot in Hong Kong, folks. I saw that ATMs now, people are running out of money. There's going to be a rush on banks today or tomorrow because of what's going on. There's no money in the ATMs. So here we go. Anyway, really bad stuff. Shooting of a 14-year-old boy in the leg with live ammunition on Friday. This is getting so. Keep your eye on this. I know we got trade talks Thursday, Friday, but this is bad. This is also bad. China narrows scope for trade deal with U.S. ahead of talks. This is not good. So if you're in that bullish FXI bull put spread out to Friday, get out of it. Right now, it's a coin flip because China is saying, hey, we just want to talk about a handful of things that maybe we could do. What has Donald Trump said almost all along? Absolutely not. We ain't doing this thing in chunks and pieces. It's one or done. He did fudge a little bit a couple weeks ago, which made me catch my breath when he said, they're talking about an interim deal, maybe. I'm like, did you say maybe? He's like, blah, blah. I haven't seen it yet, so I can't comment on it. So don't know. I don't think the market's going to take a partial deal as super bullish. That's why for this week I sent this out via email and text a couple seconds ago. I'm looking at a bull put spread on volatility out to Friday. This little market, coming back from down 60 to be down 20 right now means zero. We're kind of in a holding pattern up until these talks on Friday. So I did the 23.5, 23 bull put spread on volatility, got filled at about 15, 16 cents. And I'm risking about $4,700 for the week to make 29. We had two great weekly options trades last week. We had an S&P 500 bear call spread that expired. It would have expired for max profit, but we took it off the next day. We made about $1,400 in a day between Monday and Tuesday last week and closed it. A lot of you closed this bear call spread on FXI, the iShares China ETF, the 40.5. You could have closed the next day for about $2,000. Uncle Wiz needs to follow his own advice sometimes. I said, I think this thing's got further to drop towards the end of the week. And of course, Friday, it was hovering around the break even, and then Uncle Don opened his mouth about good news about trade and thing ripped away. I bailed out, I think, for a couple $100 loss. So for those of you who took a one-day profit for $2,000 and made money, good on you. That's exactly what you needed to do. Fly your SOP. That is a bad on me. It's a bad on the instructor, man. And I flogged myself appropriately. But good. Everybody in the brief last Tuesday said they were closing it and taking profits. Proud of you guys. I was thinking about turning this into a burner trade as the week went on and buying some puts because I thought it was going to get uglier. And there comes the Donald. So that's the risk to these type of trades, man, is the Donald opening his mouth. So still got some weak data here in the United States, weak data over in Europe. But I got to be honest with you, last Friday was not weak. The unemployment rate hit a 50-year low. Try running against a president that has an unemployment rate at 50-year lows, 136,000 jobs, suggesting the economy hasn't been affected by global weakening. So what's that mean? That kind of, that throws cold water on what happened last week. We got weak ISMs, manufacturing and non-manufacturing PMI, implosion, and then as I predicted, and we sold a bear call spread, a one-day bear call spread that made a max profit of $2,500, so more than negated any loss from that FXI trade. Why did I sell volatility as the market looked like it was imploding? Because it didn't look like it was imploding. That might look like it to you. It doesn't to me. Right? I knew we weren't going to hit this 200-day moving average, just like back here. And I knew the market was going to turn around eventually on what? Jerome Powell and the Fed. When we got weak manufacturing and non-manufacturing PMI data, the Fed's gotta raise rates. I think before I jumped on the air this morning, the Fed funds futures rate is still around at 90% for October, and I think the December one's up at 50. So the market's relying on old Uncle Jerome and the Federal Reserve to come in and save us. So Lee Hu back in Washington on Thursday and Friday. Don't know. Do we get something positive? Remember what we've learned so far in these negotiations. No news is actually bad news. If we don't hear anything in these 2-day talks, it's usually bad. If we hear in something, hey, things are kind of good, then things are good. And I'm telling you right now, Larry Kudlow kind of threw some cold water on this, man. If they're coming and with the mindset of we just want to narrow and talk about these handful of things, it's not going to work. So be careful, folks. Uncle Jerome is speaking tomorrow at the National Association for Home Builders in Denver. And then on Wednesday, the Fed is at a Listen event in Kansas. That should be pretty interesting. So we'll see what those guys have to say. But, earnings aren't looking too hot. Some companies scale back expectations as investors grow more cautious. Folks, you can cut and print this headline even when earnings outlook is fantastic. Why? Wall Street does your standard, if you can't hit the ball over the net, you lower the net. All these companies, Apple's a serial sandbagger. They always run out to the microphone and say, oh, woe is me, things suck. Then they come out and when things are less sucky, the stock rallies and they look like a hero. So be careful for that. But the past couple, folks, it has been a little, we got out of CSX lately. 3 earnings ago and then 2 earnings ago, the CSX, the railroad CEO, he sounded like Donald Trump. He could not have been more bullish on the economy. This is the best environment I've ever seen in 45 years. And then the last earnings call, he literally got on the phone and said, I'm confused. I have no idea what's going on, which even if you were thinking that, you don't say that as a CEO, and the stock imploded. So maybe this time around, the boy in the market who cried wolf is going to be right. Maybe these earnings are going to suck, and the outlook is especially going to suck when, folks, if Cindy Lou Who hops on an airplane on Friday and goes home and we don't have anything good, next week, folks, on the 15th, those higher tariffs are supposed to go into effect. So get ready for this. It's funny because the last time this happened, I was in Norwich, Vermont with my son, right? Anytime I go away to try and do something family-like, whether it's out to Aspen to ski or something happens that I predicted is going to be awful, it's comical. You can set your watch to this. So Friday, I'm going to be up in Norwich. It's Matthew's parents' weekend. He's got a hockey game on Saturday. Looking forward to seeing my boy and the Corps of Cadets. Friday, man, if this guy gets on an airplane, this market implodes. If it's aftermarket hours, take a look at the futures market. So this is going to be very, very interesting to see how the second half of earnings call, if on the 15th tariffs go into effect, right? Very, very interesting. A lot going on. So if the Fed's, quote, insurance rates didn't cut, remember the last 2 times they've cut, and then the market imploded just as I predicted. They were called like insurance cuts. We want to get ahead of these. Well, here comes QE, baby, or maybe the need for emergency cuts. So a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. We've been printing money, and I hate when people say that because usually they're not. Men lie, numbers don't. Come and look at our trades. Next week, next Monday, you got to register now, or if you register when it's too late, you're not going to be able to register. Come in. We're going to show you all this stuff, man. Look at this. We had a VXX spread from last week that expired $2,900, $2,880. That's an annual membership into our Full Throttle program. One trade. The SPX trade hit $1,700 for max profit. This, if you got out of it when you were supposed to, and I didn't, also would have been around. That would have been $3,700 with 2 weekly options trades. Instead, I got 17, and I got like negative $200. But anyway, we got the 1-day S&P 500 trade right here, and the volatility trade. We were up another week where it's north of 20 grand in net profit, not excluding the loss there. So I'm having a blast. You should be too. If you're not enjoying this, if you don't like this type of market volatility and you're sitting on your hands, you're doing it wrong. Unless you just want to be uber conservative and watch other people like us print money. This is a target-rich environment for options traders. So please do yourself, don't do me a favor, do yourself a favor and head to go.topgunoptions.com/ FT, that stands for Full Throttle, and grab your slot to see what we do here at TGO. Have a great rest of your day. I'll see my weekly options traders at 1 o'clock, and our solo Amazon service, another great service. 2 shots, 2 kills last week. Bearish trades on Amazon and the XLY, and they're looking fantastic. Have a great rest of your day, and God bless. I'll talk to you tomorrow.